Welcome back to House of Hoon. Today I've taken a trip up to Wodonga to say g'day to JP Performance and get the old man's 80 series tuned up. So let's roll into it. Alright, so I'm here at JP Performance with Jordan, the owner, and we're about to throw the cruiser on the dyno. So first of all, I thought before we get started, we just ask Jordan a couple of questions. So first question is, we're looking at doing a pretty safe tune on the cruiser while still being able to get a bit more performance out of it. So I just wanted to ask you what you generally do to try and make sure it doesn't throw a leg out of bed while still being able to get that bit more performance out of the 180 engines.
So we would obviously add fuel and watch the fuel ratio on the dyno. And when you add fuel, you have to make sure that the timing is correct as well, because if you just add fuel alone, it will obviously just make power that produce a lot of heat. So yeah, with this non-compensated 10mm pump, we will just add some fuel and then add timing to accommodate that fuel, and then add some boost and check it out of the bike.
Yep, awesome. So what kind of power figures do you reckon we'll be able to get out of this? Do you reckon we'll be limited by the fuel or the boost, or just looking after the engine in general?
So with this, the 10mm pump on this, they do have a pretty good cam plate inside the pump. So it will probably produce 140 horsepower, but the limitation will be off boost fueling, because there's no boost compensator on the top. We'll start to produce a lot of soot off boost, so that will be our limitation, probably just the pump and tunability there.
Yep, cool. And final question, Nissan or Toyota?
Nissan.
You heard it from the expert, everyone. Sell your Toyota, buy Nissan.
This has a dampener in the pump that, as the throttle is released and the governor comes back to idle sort of position, the dampener will catch it and slow it down to idle. So sort of when I had on the dyno, I could feel that as it come back to idle, it was sort of slowly coming back there. If we add fuel and leave that dampener there, it'll literally sit at 1500 RPM with the clutch in, and it should be at 800 RPM.
Yep.
So I've got to back the dampener off before I can add fuel and start tuning.
Yep.
See that if it wants that timing or it doesn't want it. So that's the difference between fuel screw only and then fuel screw and timing. Picks up torque and whatnot, but it has reaching up the bottom end, so now we can actually afford to turn the fuel screw down, take fuel out of it, and hopefully maintain the same power and torque with less heat and fuel consumption. So we added fuel and obviously made power, but then I've added timing with that fuel, and it has richened the air fuel ratio up because it's injecting sooner. So now I can afford to remove some fuel screw and remove fuel across the whole rev range and leave some timing in there, so we still have our gains in power, but we're doing it with less fuel added as such. You sort of generally tune your air fuel ratio and then play with timing and see what that timing does, and it'll tell you what the engine wants and what it doesn't want. So we've gained a positive from adding timing, so now we can just fine tune our air fuel ratio around that timing that we're thinking that this engine wants. Diesel, the quantity is less, it drops with temperature because it's thinner diesel. So yeah, I've done fuel timing, got up to 140 horsepower, and then actually, no matter where you sort of play with it now, it's actually deteriorating, which does happen. You'll see that on the test bench as well. Like last night I had a big 12 mil pump on the bench and it was at say 220 cc's. I come in this morning and that fueling has changed and the timing is a little bit different because last night when I finished on the test bench it was at like 35 degrees. In the afternoon we come in and it's like 20 degrees this morning, and the actual calibration is actually changing the temperature. So if you have a look at the red run up the top there, the best torque, it's test number 2. So run 1 and then test 2. It was the best run, and then pretty much we've done 8 runs in total now. And it basically, deteriorates no matter what the adjustments are. I've gone, less timing, more timing, and everywhere in between, and fine-tune the fueling. But no matter what we do, it's still not that great. And it's not air density because it is being super hot, because that's actually staying rather cool. The fan underneath is doing its job, obviously. If you do back-to-back runs and this heat soaks, your air density obviously gets really bad, and hot air, no engine likes hot air, so it will affect the tune, but in this case, it's not what's happening. So the first run on the dyno, like you pulled up, we had a chat, we set the dyno up, heat soak and heat in general sort of dissipates when the fan's going. The first 1 and 2 runs on the dyno are usually sort of your best, healthiest response and whatnot. And then if you do back-to-back runs, obviously any more than 5 to 6 runs, we find that heat soak and all the variables of dyno environment start to play a part in the tune, so your adjustments that you're doing is affected by all those other aspects. Usually it's not that bad. You sort of be able to tune through that. You really need to possibly cool that pump down and just see without AFRs winching up again, because they're just leaning off 26 to 1 and they're leaving at 23 to 1. I don't usually do this, it's just really, this one's had a fair old change. do. Test 2 being our best benchmark sort of run to compare against, which is just fuel and timing. We're pretty much back to that spot there now with our fuel and timing, and it's still leaning off. So to produce that, 140 horsepower or thereabouts, it's requiring that 23 to 1. No matter what now, we're leaning off to 25, and we're governed by the smoke down low. We can't give it more fuel screw and blow all that soot just because we want it to be rich up top. The pump is affected by heat and it's deteriorating a little bit. A lift pump could help this area, like it keeps leaning off in the higher RPM. A lift pump could possibly help it out a lot.
Yep. Before we head back to the workshop, let's head back in time a little bit to before we turbocharged the 80 series. We took it to our local dyno for just a single power run so that we could compare naturally aspirated to turbocharged power figures. We're back in the workshop now, and seriously, what a difference the turbo has made to this 80. As you saw, we went from 82 horsepower naturally aspirated to around 140 horsepower turbocharged. And if my maths is correct, which is quite questionable, that's about a 75% power increase, which is not bad at all. I'll throw the dyno graphs up on the screen now so you can all have a gaze at them and compare them side by side. Our custom top mount intercooler was working very efficiently by keeping the air nice and cool throughout all of the various runs that we were doing. Also, the Mamba turbo was doing its job by creating lots of boosty boys. It was just the fuel pump that was letting us down by doing weird stuff and heating up. To solve the pump issue, the best option would be to just replace the pump entirely with a larger pump, one that's also set up for boost compensation, which will limit the amount of soot that's produced while it's off boost. All in all, we're extremely happy with how the Cruiser now drives. It now cruises up all the hills in 5th gear without a worry in the world. And that's even with the big camper on the back. I'd like to say thanks to the boys at JP Performance once again for working their tuning magic on the 80. I'd also like to say a massive thanks to Mamba for sponsoring us the turbo for this build. They've honestly been great to deal with, and their turbos do exactly what they should do, make lots of reliable boost, and they put a smile on your face. If you'd like to grab yourself a Mamba turbo for your TD42 Patrol or your Land Cruiser, just use our code and you'll receive 5% off and a couple of little extras. I'll also chuck a link to Mamba's website down below. I hope you've all enjoyed watching the tuning aspect of this video, and hopefully you've picked up a little bit of knowledge along the way as well. If you have, be sure to hit that thumbs up and also consider subscribing. I'm thinking about doing a walkthrough on the entire 80 series build, everything from the bar work to the camper, to the single cab chop, and everything in between. So if that's something you're interested in seeing, drop a comment down below and let me know. And, as always, you should always listen to your tuner when he tells you that Nissans are better than Toyotas.